Hi everyone, it's Wayne Tucker here. In this next video, I want to talk about my experience with cold chain. I mentioned previously that one of my responsibilities in public health for the two health units where I was working was responsible for the vaccine preventable disease program. So this involved one aspect of that was the cold chain for the vaccine storage of the vaccine. So we would have a number of vaccine fridges at our public health units that we would need to make sure we're keeping the temperature range of 2 to 8 degrees Celsius. So that temperature range was very important, but obviously to keep it within the cold chain. But optimally, we'd be trying to keep it somewhere in the middle of that because you didn't want the vaccines to be risk to going outside the cold chain temperature range. So you certainly didn't want to keep the fridge maintained at 2, and you certainly didn't want to keep it at 8. You would try to keep it somewhere in the middle at about 5. That was extremely important. The vaccine fridges were equipped with alarms that would be going off during the day or even on the weekends after hours to let us know if a vaccine fridge was going outside that cold chain. And a number of reasons for why a fridge might go outside the range. There could be some malfunctioning with the fridge, a fridge is needs something replaced. Or it could be related to a power outage and the power is gone from the fridge. So I talked about in an earlier video about the importance of public health inspectors after hours having to go check a vaccine fridge like that. The storage of the vaccine, as I mentioned, in terms of maintaining that cold chain, was extremely important in terms of ensuring that vaccine would be effective to give, and a vaccine would not be able to be used if it gone outside that cold chain for a certain period of time. And there are certain protocols that were available in terms of the stability of that vaccine to check with, and we would be consulting with the appropriate people at the provincial level, determine if a vaccine was outside cold chain for too long, whether it could be used or not. The cold chain for the vaccines is also important when you're transporting it. So whether we're receiving it or whether someone's coming to the public health unit from a long-term care facility or retirement home to pick up vaccines for example, the flu vaccine, we had to make sure that that vaccine was appropriately packed with ice packs to keep that vaccine within range, and there would be a temperature device put in with that vaccine bag to ensure that the temperature was staying within cold chain for that vaccine. Vaccines are extremely expensive, so that's why one reason why we want to make sure it stays within the cold chain, but also we don't want to be giving vaccines to people with a false sense that that vaccine is going to work when it may not be no longer effective if it's gone outside that cold chain. The other thing that we would be doing out in the community would be doing random vaccine fridge inspections. So we would have, I think probably 100, for this particular public health unit, it could be like 140 sites that would be have vaccines in their fridge. So we had to make sure that they were storing their vaccine in an appropriate way, that they weren't storing their lunch in these vaccine fridges, that they weren't storing specimens in these vaccine fridges, that the temperature and that they were recording temperature of those fridges on a regular basis. So basically making sure that they were doing the appropriate steps to maintain that cold chain. I have to, sometimes, these inspections had to be unannounced, so we would certainly come across some very unique situations in terms of what would be stored in these fridge, whether it would be someone's lunch or specimens of that nature. And if there was issues with that vaccine and some of the vaccines in that fridge, then we would be talking with the medical officer of health as well, maybe as well someone provincially, and determining what kind of risk there might have been to the community. So in some cases, the physician at that clinic, for example, might have to call their patients that they gave that vaccine to and say, I'm sorry, but that vaccine went outside the cold chain and is no longer effective. You need to come in and get that vaccine again from us. Certainly not a good situation for the physician or for the clinic, and certainly, a difficult situation for public health but it's something that we occasion they had to do because we did not want to have the public having a false sense that their vaccine was going to be effective when it wasn't. Some of the other things kind of go through. I took that. I did have opportunity at that health unit to. There was some extra funding that year within our budget, so I felt it was an area that, with all the demands with public health, that it was something that needed a heightened sense of surveillance in the community. Often we would be doing the inspections, and it can fall down there in terms of a priority. So it was important. I wanted to kind of give it a higher level of priority. So some extra funding was available in our budget. So I was actually able to create a separate position where their main role was cold chain and the vaccine fridges. So it was certainly heightened it to a higher level, having someone that could dedicate their day to going to the community, doing the inspections, answering questions from the various locations where the fridges were and the storage of the vaccines, as well as making sure someone was at the house dedicated to making sure that we had the appropriate vaccines and a good supply of our vaccines for all of our clinics. So it really did kind of heighten that priority. This particular health unit was a good addition to the vaccine preventable disease team. Okay, thank you.